And I remember just for a split second I froze and flashed back to my training just a couple months earlier when Dave Woods was explaining the protocol of delivering a baby, and he told us what a prestigious event it was and how exciting it is to deliver a baby over the phone. And so I just froze for a second. I was so excited thinking, it's happening, I'm gonna deliver a baby.
911, what's your emergency?
A Stork Pin is a celebration of the delivery, successful delivery of a child. And in order to achieve a Stork Pin, the ECO has to actually deliver the baby. So once they're involved in delivering the baby and providing the protocols, the celebration of that is a Stork Pin. And it means a lot, especially in a world where we deal with people being very mean to other people, and through all that muck and grime and blood and bad things, delivering a baby is the pinnacle of celebration, and we take time to celebrate that.
So when I realized that somebody on scene is actually in labor and that there is a strong possibility that we may need to deliver this baby, the first thing I want to do is note that in the call. We want to make sure that we've got every resource rolling to the situation that can assist, especially if the EMS crew is quite a ways out. So my favorite delivery story was from a partner who phoned in stating that his wife was in labor. They were about 20 minutes outside of the city center. At which point I had inquired whether he could see, feel, or touch any part of the baby now. He was quite reluctant to check for me. I'm not sure whether he was in a situation where he didn't want to see how close they were to delivering, or whether it was just an uncomfortable situation. It honestly could have been either one. It took quite a bit of coaxing to get him to do so. At some point, he did listen to me. He did check to see whether he could see any part of the baby, at which point the phone dropped and I heard the door open. Little boy picked up the phone, a little 6-year-old, we'll call him Ben. He picked up the phone and told me that Daddy was gone, and at which point I inquired with him what that meant. And he said Daddy ran out of the room. He's got no shoes on and it's cold outside. And I asked him whether Daddy was coming back, and he went to the door and said Daddy's still running and he has no shoes on and it's cold outside. At this point I kind of realized Daddy's probably not coming back, and that this could be a strong possibility that I may need to deliver this baby with the 6-year-old that's on scene.
But I think one of the big lessons here is to not underestimate the helping ability of a 3-year-old. They can find shoes to get shoelaces, they can find a blanket, they may even surrender their own blankie for the celebration. They can find towels, and they can bring those to the mom for the various components of delivery.
At that point, I had to ask him whether he had a shoelace as well. And he advised me that Mom didn't have a shoelace because she was wearing boots because it was the winter time, but that he had Spider-Man shoelaces. So I asked him whether he could go and get one of his Spider-Man shoelaces out of his shoe, at which point he did without a problem. So he came back. At this point, I can hear Mom screaming in the background, and I can hear her say that the head is crowning, at which point I know this baby's coming and there's nothing we can do about it. And within 2 minutes, the little girl was delivered. Ben assisted in catching her, his little baby sister, and thankfully the fire department and EMS showed up a couple of minutes later. So Ben did not need to use his Spider-Man shoelaces and wreck them, so he was pretty happy about that. So.
Oh, the first thing that pops in my head every single time I get a labor call is, please let this go smoothly, because I don't know how long it's going to take for those crews to get there. If something happens along the way, or, you get a positive call for once and you just want it to go well. And the very first thing every time is, please just let this go smoothly. The call came in, and it's the usual
Ambulance dispatch for which town or city?
And they say I'm just outside of such and such out on the highway. My wife's in labor, she wants to push. Instantly I knew that baby was mine, and I just went full jitters, went full shaky voice, and was trying to get through the first initial questions, just asking how old she was and trying to get through that first screen of just getting some information into the call. And I couldn't type. My hands were like this. My voice sounded the same. And my lead at the time, Mike, came over and noticed right away because he knows I don't get nervous on calls. So as soon as he heard it, he came over and put his hands on my shoulders, and I just went, okay, this baby's mine. I know this now. They're out on the highway. It's going to be a bit. And I went about it. It was, okay, where is she in the car? Let's get her in the back seat, get her laid down. Going through each instruction because I know I've got the tools.
Then we have this situation, where are we facing the delivery? Is it at home? Is it in the back of a vehicle, the front of a vehicle? Is it somewhere remote, camping trip, or wherever that might be? A lot of those environments aren't necessarily baby friendly, and so we have to try to do our best to facilitate delivering the baby in an unfriendly environment.
It was so fast. Mom pushed maybe 3 times, and all of a sudden Dad's like, the baby's out. And I was just like, hey, wrap her up, let's tie the umbilical cord. So we were going through all the instructions, and I'm like, is it a boy or a girl? And it's like, oh, it's a girl. It's like, oh, congratulations. You know, we were doing all the things. And as we were talking, waiting for the next stages of getting ready to get the placenta ready to be birthed as well. In the meantime, he started referring to the baby as a he. So, Dad, is the baby a girl or a boy? He started switching to he. He's like, oh, okay, let me double check. And it was, I waited a second, and he says, there's no penis. There is no penis. And it was just the most epic, funny thing that's ever happened on a call, and I'm never going to forget it.
Okay, what is the phone number that you're calling from in case we get disconnected?
The most intense moment of that call, beyond the initial, this baby's mine, I've got a job to do, was the first cry, actually. She let out a little bit of a squeak and then a bit of a wail, and I had to fight so hard to not cry in that very moment. I've only had one other call that did that to me, and that one was pretty amazing, just hearing life for a change.
When I first realized that I'm dealing with a woman in labor on the other end of the phone, my reaction is, I would say, a little bit of excitement combined with extreme nerves. You're a little anxious because you want to deliver the instructions correctly. You want to make sure that you're doing things right. But at the same time, it's a little bit of a rush and very exciting because you know that there's a chance that you're going to deliver a baby right now.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
It was one of the first night shifts that I had ever worked as an emergency communications officer, and it was getting close to the end of the shift time. It was 5 o'clock in the morning of a 12-hour shift, and the phone rang, and when I answered it, the very first thing that I heard was a blood-curdling scream. So instantly my heart sank, and I just felt this feeling of dread, thinking that it was going to be a horrible situation, some catastrophe of some kind. And so I just remember feeling my heart starting to beat a lot faster. And then all of a sudden a male's voice came over the phone saying, "The baby's coming, we're not going to make it."
What are the challenges of delivering babies over the phone? I think the first large challenge is keeping up with the baby. The babies have not read the protocol, and so they do what they want to do whenever they want to do it. And they may progress quickly, they may slow down, they may suddenly deliver, and that is the starting point. So preparedness is huge. So the emergency communications officers, the ECOs, need to be prepared. That means fluent in the protocol, rehearsing the protocol, looking at that information on a regular basis.
So I discerned the location of the call and realized that they were pulled over on the side of a road in Calgary, and that they could already see the baby's head coming out. And by the time I finished getting the address and asked the gentleman to tell me exactly what was happening, he told me that the baby was out. So I proceeded through the protocol, asking the questions that were meant to ask and ensuring that everything is okay with mom and baby, and came to find out that unfortunately the baby wasn't breathing. And then all of my excitement started to dissipate and turned into stress instead. And so I continued through the protocol, got the father to do baby CPR.
Listen carefully and I'll tell you how to do chest compressions. Pump the chest hard and fast, at least twice per second. Let the chest come all the way up between pumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
And then thankfully, the baby started breathing and once again just took a sigh of relief, and all that excitement came rushing back in. I remember staying on the phone with the father and the mother. They were very calm throughout the whole experience, and you could just feel their excitement radiating through the phone, their disbelief and excitement that this had just happened. I don't think that they were expecting to deliver their baby on the side of the road, as I don't think anyone would be expecting. They thought that they'd be able to make it to the hospital. So I stayed on the phone with them and got to experience with them the first few minutes of their baby's life until the paramedics arrived on scene, and I was able to safely hang up the phone knowing that they were in good hands. And I remember the minute that I hung up the phone, the whole room just exploded with excitement and congratulations and people telling me what a good job that I did.
Fortunately, for the vast majority of deliveries that we deliver, they're fine. The baby delivers in they probably didn't even need us to hold their hand if it all came down to it. But in those cases where it's not so straightforward, that's when we really step up and make a difference to the outcome.
But the team atmosphere, I think, is probably the most important thing that you can have in there. That we're all of like mind, we're there to get the job done, and we can have fun after the job is complete, and make sure that we do have that fun so that we can chill out together and appreciate each other.
My coworkers, we all work very closely, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, there's not a whole lot going on, so everyone knew pretty quickly what was happening. And a few of my coworkers gathered behind me to offer their support, and you could just feel the excitement in the room.
People are generally pretty excited. We don't often get to see babies being delivered. We often lose people on the line more than we do deliver. So it's definitely an exciting moment that we don't often get to see. So it is celebrated when that happens.
That's really what a Stork Pin does, is remind us that there is some good in the work we do, and that would be the delivering the baby. It's a celebration that we can have.
And for the next few days, I kind of reflected on why we make it such a big deal when a baby is delivered. And I came to the realization that in this job, working as a communications officer, we experience so much adversity and so many people who are having the worst day of their life. We experience so much death and dying over the phone that when we get to be a part of bringing a new life into the world, it really is a big deal and something to be celebrated.